His wife showed up at my rehearsal dinner. Not ex-wife. Current wife. With 2 children. She'd been looking for him for 2 years. Posted to r/true off my chest. I'm writing this from what was supposed to be my honeymoon suite. The ocean view is beautiful. The champagne the hotel left is still untouched on the ice bucket. My wedding dress hangs in the closet like a ghost of someone I used to be. Someone who existed 48 hours ago. Someone who believed she knew what her life would look like. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I'm 26 years old. And yesterday, I was supposed to become a wife. Instead, I'm sitting here alone, trying to understand how I could have been so completely, devastatingly fooled. I keep replaying every conversation, every dinner, every night we spent together. Looking for the lie. The horrible thing is, I can't find where the performance ended and the real person began. Maybe there was never a real person at all. Let me start from the beginning. How we met, 3 years ago. I met him at a coffee shop, which feels painfully cliché now. I was grading finger painting projects, of all things, surrounded by papers covered in handprints and glitter. He sat down at the table next to me, dressed in a crisp button-down and slacks, laptop open, looking like he'd stepped out of a business magazine. He made a comment about the glitter on my cheek. I laughed. He asked what I did. When I told him I taught kindergarten, he didn't do what so many men had done before. He didn't dismiss it as cute or easy or ask when I planned to get a real job. He asked me what I loved most about it. He listened like my answer mattered. He told me he was a financial consultant. Independent, he said, working with high-net-worth clients on investment strategies. He traveled frequently for work, meeting clients in different cities, managing portfolios worth millions. It explained so much. The nice watch. The tailored clothes. The sleek car I'd see him drive away in. He seemed successful in the way that quiet confidence suggests. Not flashy, not boastful, just secure. On our 3rd date, he took me to a restaurant I'd only ever walked past, assuming I'd never afford it. He ordered wine without looking at the prices. He picked up the check without hesitation. When I offered to split it, he shook his head and said, "Please, let me take care of you." I should have noticed that he always wanted to take care of me. At the time, it felt romantic. We dated for a year before he asked me to move in with him. His apartment was beautiful. Modern furniture, clean lines, a view of the city skyline. He told me he owned it. I had no reason to doubt him. He was everything I thought I wanted. Stable. Successful. Attentive. He remembered small things. My favorite flowers, the way I liked my coffee, the names of my students. He asked about my day and actually listened to the answers. He held me when I cried about difficult parent meetings or budget cuts at the school. My mother loved him. My friends were jealous. Everyone said I'd found one of the good ones. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? The engagement. He proposed on our 2-year anniversary. We were at a rooftop restaurant, the city glittering below us, and he got down on one knee with a ring that took my breath away. A princess-cut diamond, he said, nearly 2 carats. The kind of ring I'd pinned on secret Pinterest boards but never thought I'd actually wear. I said yes before he even finished asking. The wedding planning began immediately. I wanted something elegant but not extravagant, a ceremony at a historic venue, a reception for about 150 guests, good food, a live band. He agreed to everything. When we discussed budgets, he insisted on paying for his half. "You work so hard," he said. "You barely make anything teaching. Let me handle this." I was uncomfortable with the imbalance, but he was persuasive. He said his business was doing well, that he'd just closed a major deal, that he wanted our wedding to be perfect. My mother contributed what she could. I dipped into my savings. He assured me his half would be covered. The deposits were paid. The vendors were booked. The dress, my beautiful ivory dress with the delicate lace sleeves, hung in my closet for months, waiting. I was so happy. I was so stupid. The red flags I explained away. My mother asked why I didn't see the signs. I've been asking myself the same thing. Maybe I saw them and just didn't want to look. He was always vague about work. When I asked about his clients, he'd say they were confidential. When I asked about his day, he'd give non-answers, meetings, calls, the usual. I never saw his office. He said he worked from home mostly, or at client sites. Once, I suggested meeting him for lunch at his firm, and he changed the subject so smoothly that I didn't realize until later that he'd never answered. His business trips happened frequently, 3, sometimes 4 times a month. He'd text me good night from hotel rooms, tell me he missed me, send me photos of cityscapes from high-rise windows. But never photos of him. Never photos of meetings or dinners or anything that proved he was actually there working. His family was strange around money. I met his mother once, at a holiday dinner. She seemed nervous the entire time, watching him like she was waiting for something bad to happen. When I mentioned his success, she got quiet. I assumed it was jealousy or family tension. Now I wonder if she knew. Now I wonder if she was trying to protect me without being able to say the words. He never introduced me to colleagues. He said his work was solitary, that he didn't have office friends, that his clients were his focus. I accepted it. I was so good at accepting things. The expensive things he bought never quite added up. The car was always being detailed or serviced, so he'd drive rentals. The apartment had furniture that looked staged, like a model unit. His closet was full of designer clothes, but I never saw him actually shop. Small inconsistencies. Easy to dismiss. Impossible to unsee now. The discovery, the day before my wedding. The rehearsal dinner was at a restaurant downtown. Both families, the wedding party, our closest friends. I was wearing a cream-colored dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. I felt beautiful. I felt lucky. We were halfway through the appetizers when she walked in. She wasn't dressed for a party. She looked exhausted, desperate, like someone who had driven through the night. She stood in the doorway, scanning the room, and when her eyes landed on my fiancé, something in her face crumbled and hardened at the same time. "There you are," she said. Her voice carried across the entire restaurant. "I've been looking for you for 2 years." My fiancé went pale. Not embarrassed pale. Not confused pale. Caught. She walked toward our table, and everyone went silent. My mother grabbed my hand. My maid of honor stood up like she was ready to intervene. But the woman wasn't aggressive. She was just broken. "I'm his wife," she said, looking directly at me. "Not ex-wife. His wife. We've been married for 8 years. We have 2 children." I don't remember what I said. I don't think I said anything. The room tilted. Sound became muffled. I watched my fiancé's face, waiting for him to laugh, to explain, to tell me this was some kind of insane misunderstanding. He didn't. He just sat there, jaw tight, eyes darting toward the exit like he was calculating whether he could run. His wife, his real wife, pulled out her phone and showed me photos. Wedding photos. Family photos. A house. 2 kids, young, maybe 6 and 4. A life. A whole life that existed parallel to the one he'd built with me. She wasn't there to hurt me. She was there to warn me. She'd been searching for him for 2 years, ever since he disappeared. She'd finally tracked him down through social media, a photo someone had posted of our engagement party, tagged with his name. The rehearsal dinner ended. I don't know how. I was somewhere outside myself, watching everything fall apart like a building collapsing in slow motion. Update 1. The investigation, the night before what should have been my wedding. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Instead, I did what any rational person would do. I started investigating. His wife stayed at a hotel nearby. She'd driven 9 hours to stop the wedding. She'd brought documents, bank statements, court records. She sat with me in my hotel room until 2 in the morning, piecing together the truth. He wasn't a financial consultant. He'd never been a financial consultant. He didn't have a degree. He didn't have a license. His entire career was a fabrication. He was unemployed. He'd been unemployed for years. He made his money by finding women, charming them, getting engaged, and living off their generosity while he continued the con elsewhere. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the second or third. There was a woman 2 states over who'd given him $40,000 for a business investment. There was a woman across the country who'd co-signed a loan that he'd defaulted on. There was a woman who'd lost her house. And then there was his wife, who'd watched him drain their joint accounts and disappear, leaving her with 2 children and mountains of debt. The car. Leased. Months behind on payments. The apartment. He didn't own it. He was subletting it from someone who didn't know he'd moved me in. The ring. I had it appraised 2 days after the rehearsal dinner. Cubic zirconia in a cheap gold-plated setting. Worth maybe $200. His half of the wedding costs. Paid with money he'd borrowed from another woman, someone he was actively engaged to in another state. She thought he was planning their wedding. He was using her money to pay for mine. The depth of the con took my breath away. The detail. The patience. The complete lack of anything resembling a conscience. He didn't just steal money. He stole 3 years of my life. He stole my trust. He stole my ability to believe what people tell me. Update 2. The confrontation, the day of what should have been my wedding. I went to the venue anyway. Not in my dress. Not as a bride. I went because I needed to look him in the face and understand. He was there. I don't know why he showed up. Maybe he thought he could still talk his way out of it. Maybe he thought I was weak enough to be persuaded. Maybe he just wanted to see the wreckage he'd created. He was standing near the altar when I walked in, the altar where we were supposed to exchange vows. The flowers were already arranged. The chairs were set up. Everything was perfect and pointless. "You came," he said, "like this was a reunion instead of a reckoning." "Your wife came too," I said. "The night before our wedding. With documentation. With court records. With evidence that you've done this to multiple women." His expression didn't change. "That's what haunts me." There was no shame. No guilt. No recognition of the destruction he'd caused. Just calculation. Like he was still trying to figure out how to spin this. "Look," he said, stepping closer, voice dropping to that intimate tone I used to find so comforting. "It's complicated. My marriage has been over for years. She's unstable. She's been stalking me, trying to ruin my life." "Your children are 6 and 4, I interrupted. "You disappeared 2 years ago. The math doesn't add up." He paused. Recalculated. Tried again. "I was going to tell you. After the wedding. I was going to explain everything. We could have worked through it together." "Worked through your other fiancé? The one whose money paid for this wedding?" That stopped him. His face flickered, just for a second, with something that might have been surprise. He hadn't known I'd found her. He hadn't expected me to dig. "You should be grateful," he said finally, and there it was, the real him, surfacing for maybe the first time. "I chose you. Out of everyone, I chose you to be my wife. I could have picked anyone." I almost laughed. It was so absurd. So delusional. So completely, terrifyingly real. "You don't have the ability to choose," I said. "You're not even a real person. You're just a series of lies wearing a suit." I turned and walked away. He called after me, but I didn't look back. There was nothing left to see. Update 3. The aftermath. The worst week of my life. Canceling a wedding the day of is exactly as devastating as you'd imagine. I lost every deposit. Thousands of dollars. My savings, my mother's contribution, everything. The venue kept their money. The caterer kept their money. The florist, the photographer, the band, everyone kept their money. They had contracts. They weren't required to give refunds for decisions made at the last minute, even decisions made because the groom was a criminal. The humiliation was almost worse than the financial loss. 150 people knew. Friends, family, co-workers, the principal of my school, the parents of my students. Everyone had received invitations. Everyone had bought gifts. Everyone had to be told. My mother made most of the calls. I couldn't speak without crying. I couldn't explain without falling apart. Some people were kind. Some people were awkward. Some people asked questions that felt like accusations. "Didn't you know? Weren't there signs? How could you miss this?" I wanted to scream at them. How could I miss it? Because he was good. Because he studied his targets. Because he knew exactly what to say and when to say it. Because he made being fooled feel like being loved. The wedding guests who came anyway, to support me, not to celebrate, they're the only reason I got through that day. My maid of honor stayed with me for 3 days straight. My mother held me while I sobbed. My father, who I barely speak to, drove 6 hours just to sit with me in silence. They saved me. They reminded me that real love exists. That real people exist. That not everyone is a lie wearing human skin. Update 4. The connection. Finding the other women. His wife reached out a week after the non-wedding. She'd started a group, a network of women he'd deceived. There were 7 of us that she'd found. 7 women across 5 states, spanning nearly a decade. We connected through video calls, sharing our stories, comparing notes, piecing together the full picture of who this man actually was. The woman who lost $40,000 was a nurse. Single mother. She'd met him at her son's baseball game, where he was pretending to coach. He'd told her he was a widower. The woman who lost her house was a librarian. She'd met him at a charity event. He'd told her he was an estate attorney. The woman whose money paid for my wedding was a dental hygienist. She thought she was planning her own ceremony. She'd given him $30,000 for their venue deposit. His wife, His real wife, she's been looking for him for 2 years. She warned the other women when she found them. Now we're all connected by this man who used us. Every story was the same. He found women who were stable, responsible, slightly lonely. He studied them. He mirrored their values back at them. He made himself into exactly what they wanted. And then he drained them, financially, emotionally, completely. The pattern was meticulous. He never overlapped too obviously. He kept his fiancées in different states, different social circles, different realities. He managed multiple identities, multiple histories, multiple futures, all of them fake, all of them designed to extract maximum value before moving on. We started gathering evidence. Bank records, text messages, photos, contracts, anything that proved the systematic nature of his fraud. We went to the police. Multiple jurisdictions. The woman who lost her house had already filed a report that went nowhere. The woman who lost $40,000 had been told it was a civil matter. But when we came together, 7 women, 7 testimonies, years of documentation, they finally listened. Update 5. The resolution, justice, but not healing. He was arrested 2 months after my wedding. That wasn't. The charges were extensive. Wire fraud, identity theft, bigamy, financial exploitation. The prosecutor told us he could face up to 15 years. He tried to run. Of course he did. He was found in another state, already working on his next target, a recently divorced woman he'd met at a grief support group. She'd lost her husband to cancer 6 months earlier. He was already living in her house. We warned her. She didn't believe us at first. Who would? Who wants to believe that the person they're falling for is nothing but a parasite in human form? But she saw the evidence. She saw our faces. She saw 7 women with the same story, the same devastation, the same betrayal. She asked him to leave. He threatened her. The police arrived before he could do more than threaten. He's in jail now, awaiting trial. His wife is filing for divorce. Finally, after years of abandonment, she'll be legally free. The other women are pursuing civil cases for financial recovery. Some of them might get something back. Most won't. I won't. My savings are gone. My mother's contribution is gone. The school where I teach gave me an advance on my salary to cover my rent while I tried to recover. My co-workers took up a collection to help with my bills. The kindness was almost as devastating as the betrayal. It showed me how close I'd come to having nothing. Where I am now. 3 months have passed since the day I sat in this honeymoon suite, staring at a wedding dress that represented everything I thought my life would be. I'm back at work. My kindergartners don't know what happened, and I'm grateful for that. They just know I was absent for a while and that I've seemed sad. One of them brought me a drawing last week, a picture of me surrounded by hearts, with "Miss You" written in crooked letters. I cried in the supply closet for 10 minutes after that. I'm in therapy. I've had to be. The betrayal isn't something you just get over. It rewires your brain. It makes you question everything, not just what he said, but what anyone says. Every compliment feels like manipulation. Every kindness feels like a trap. My therapist tells me this is normal. She tells me that trusting again is a process, not an event. She tells me I'm not broken, just wounded. Some days I believe her. The other women have become something like friends. We check in with each other. We share updates about the case. We remind each other that what happened wasn't our fault, that being deceived by someone dedicated to deception doesn't make us stupid. It makes us human. His wife sent me a message last week. She thanked me for listening that night at the rehearsal dinner. She said she'd been afraid I wouldn't believe her. She said she'd been afraid she was too late. She wasn't too late. She saved me from a lifetime of lies. She gave me the truth, even when it destroyed everything I thought I knew. Final thoughts. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened. Too much time, probably. The thoughts spiral if I let them. He didn't just steal money. He stole my ability to trust what people tell me. He stole my belief that I could read people, that I could protect myself, that I could tell the difference between love and performance. But here's what I've realized. I couldn't have known. None of us could have. When someone is dedicated enough to a lie, when they study their targets and craft their personas with that level of precision, there's no foolproof defense. There's no red flag bright enough. There's no amount of caution that makes you immune. The only reason I'm not still trapped in his web is because his wife was brave enough to find me. The only reason he's facing justice is because we came together and refused to be isolated by shame. I'm not healed. I'm not over it. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust someone again. But I'm surviving. I'm rebuilding. I'm surrounded by people who showed up when everything fell apart, and I'm learning that their love, the real kind, the kind that asks for nothing in return, is worth more than anything he could have given me. My wedding dress is in my mother's closet now. I couldn't look at it. I couldn't throw it away either. Maybe someday I'll know what to do with it. Maybe someday I'll wear it, for someone real, in a ceremony that means something. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll donate it to someone who can use it without the weight of what it represents. Maybe I'll cut it into pieces and make something new. For now, I'm just trying to get through each day. I'm teaching my kindergartners that it's okay to make mistakes. I'm reminding them that being kind matters more than being smart. I'm showing them, through everything I do, that people are basically good, even though some part of me isn't sure I believe that anymore. He's going to prison. His other victims are rebuilding. His wife is finally free. And I'm sitting here, writing this story, hoping that someone somewhere reads it and recognizes the signs I missed. If something feels too perfect, it might be. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. Trust your instincts, even when they're inconvenient. Ask the hard questions, even when it feels like you're being paranoid. And if someone ever shows up at your rehearsal dinner claiming to be your fiancé's wife, believe her. Listen to her. Let her save you from a life built on fiction. I did. And even though it destroyed everything, it also gave me something real. The truth. My truth. The only foundation worth building on. Edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming support. I didn't expect this post to resonate with so many people. For those asking, yes, I'm happy to share updates as the trial progresses. For those who've reached out with similar stories, I believe you. I see you. You're not alone. And to the woman who commented that she thinks she might be in a similar situation, please trust yourself. Please investigate. Please reach out to someone you trust. It's better to be wrong and feel foolish than to be right and find out too late. The truth is always worth it. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. Here's what I learned from almost marrying a complete fiction. When someone is dedicated enough to a lie, there's no foolproof defense. There's no red flag bright enough. There's no amount of caution that makes you immune. I keep replaying every conversation, every dinner, every night we spent together. Looking for the lie. The horrible thing is, I can't find where the performance ended and the real person began. Maybe there was never a real person at all. For 3 years, I thought I knew him. Financial consultant. Successful. Stable. Generous. He remembered my students' names. He held me when I cried about budget cuts at school. He proposed with a ring I thought was worth thousands. Cubic zirconia. $200. Just like everything else, beautiful on the surface, worthless underneath. My mother asked why I didn't see the signs. I've been asking myself the same thing. Maybe I saw them and just didn't want to look. The vague answers about work. The business trips with no photos of him. The family that seemed nervous around money talk. The apartment that looked staged. The car that was always being serviced. Small inconsistencies. Easy to dismiss. Impossible to unsee now. He didn't just steal money. He stole 3 years of my life. He stole my trust. He stole my ability to believe what people tell me. His wife, his real wife, drove 9 hours to stop my wedding. She'd been looking for him for 2 years. 2 children. 8 years of marriage. A life he walked away from to build another fiction with me. I wasn't the first. I wasn't even the second or third. 7 women across 5 states. A nurse who gave him $40,000. A librarian who lost her house. A dental hygienist whose money paid for my wedding while she thought she was planning her own. Every story was the same. He found women who were stable, responsible, slightly lonely. He studied them. He mirrored their values back at them. He made himself into exactly what they wanted. Then he drained them. When I confronted him, there was no shame. No guilt. Just calculation. You should be grateful, he said. I chose you. Out of everyone, I chose you. I almost laughed. You don't have the ability to choose. You're not even a real person. You're just a series of lies wearing a suit. The wedding guests who came anyway, to support me, not to celebrate, they're the only reason I got through that day. My maid of honor stayed 3 days straight. My mother held me while I sobbed. My co-workers took up a collection to help with my bills. They saved me. They reminded me that real love exists. That real people exist. That not everyone is a lie wearing human skin. He's in prison now. 7 women. Years of documentation. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Bigamy. Up to 15 years. His wife is finally free. The other women are rebuilding. And I'm back in my kindergarten classroom, teaching 5-year-olds that it's okay to make mistakes. That being kind matters more than being smart. I'm not healed. Every compliment still feels like manipulation. Every kindness still feels like a trap. My therapist says trusting again is a process, not an event. But I'm surviving. I'm surrounded by people who showed up when everything fell apart. Their love, the real kind, the kind that asks for nothing in return, is worth more than anything he could have given me. If something feels too perfect, it might be. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. And if someone shows up at your rehearsal dinner claiming to be your fiancé's wife, believe her. The truth is always worth it. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. My mother's last words weren't, "I love you." They were about the sister she hid from me for 40 years, the one who got everything. Original post. I don't even know where to begin. I'm sitting in my childhood home, the home I thought would be mine someday, surrounded by my mother's things, and I feel like I never knew her at all. Like the woman I spent 38 years calling Mom, was a stranger wearing a familiar face. My mother passed away 3 days ago. Pancreatic cancer. By the time they caught it, there was nothing to be done except make her comfortable and wait. I was the one who made her comfortable. I was the one who waited. I've been waiting for 2 years, actually, ever since the diagnosis. I quit my job as a paralegal to become her full-time caregiver. I moved back into this house. I put my entire life on hold because she needed me, and I was the only one there. I thought I was the only one, period. In her final hours, my mother grabbed my hand with a strength I didn't think she had left. Her eyes were cloudy from the morphine, but there was something urgent in them, something almost desperate. I leaned in close, thinking she wanted to tell me she loved me, thinking she wanted to say goodbye. Instead, she said, "Find your sister. Tell her I'm sorry. She deserves the house." I didn't understand. I thought the drugs were making her confused. "Mom, it's me," I said. "I don't have a sister. I'm your only daughter." She shook her head, agitated. "The other one. The first one. Find her. Tell her I never stopped thinking about her. The house is hers. It's all hers. I owe her that much." Those were her last coherent words. She slipped into unconsciousness an hour later and never woke up. I told myself it was the morphine. Terminal patients say strange things at the end. They confuse people, confuse memories, confuse dreams with reality. My mother didn't have another daughter. I had been an only child for 38 years. There were no siblings at family gatherings, no mysterious absences explained away, no hints of any kind. I was it. I was everything. Except, apparently, I wasn't. After the funeral, which I planned alone, paid for with the last of my savings, and attended by fewer than 20 people, I started going through my mother's things. I wasn't looking for secrets. I was looking for closure, for something to help me process the loss of a woman who had been the center of my entire world for 2 years. What I found instead was a locked metal box hidden in the back of her closet, behind winter coats that hadn't been worn in years. I'd never seen it before. The key was taped to the bottom. Inside, I found documents, letters, photographs. I found my sister. Update 1. The documents, posted 5 days later. I've spent the past 5 days in a fog. I haven't slept more than a few hours at a time. I keep reading the same documents over and over, hoping they'll say something different, hoping I'll find proof that this is all a misunderstanding. There is no misunderstanding. My mother had another daughter. Born when she was 17 years old, 40 years ago. The father was a boy she never named in any of the documents, just referred to as him or the boy. She was sent to live with an aunt in another state for the duration of the pregnancy. The baby was placed for adoption through a private agency. A closed adoption. Clean. Final. My mother came home, finished high school, went to college, met my father, got married, had me. She never spoke a word about any of it. Not to my father, as far as I can tell from these documents. Not to anyone. She built an entire life on top of that secret like she was pouring concrete over a grave. The letters in the box were ones she wrote to my sister but never sent. Dozens of them, spanning decades. Birthday letters, mostly. Today you turn 10. I wonder what you look like now. I wonder if you're happy. Today you turn 18. I hope you had a good childhood. I hope they loved you like I wanted to. Today you turn 30. I'm sick. I don't know how much time I have left. I think about you every day. She thought about her every day. I was right there in the house with her, and she was thinking about someone else. The lawyer called yesterday to discuss the will. I knew my mother had one. I'd helped her update it a few years ago, or so I thought. But apparently, she made changes 6 months ago. Secret changes. With a different lawyer. Everything goes to my sister. The house. The savings accounts. The investments my father left when he died 10 years ago. All of it, roughly $800,000, according to the lawyer's estimate. A lifetime of accumulated wealth, passed entirely to a woman my mother gave away 40 years ago and never saw again. I get her jewelry. Her photo albums. A few pieces of furniture she knew I always liked. I quit my job to take care of her. I held her hand through chemo. I cleaned up after her when she couldn't make it to the bathroom. I listened to her cry at night when the pain was too much, and I held her until she fell asleep. And she left everything to a daughter she gave away 40 years ago. I don't know how to process this. I don't know if I can. Update 2. The Aftermath, posted 2 weeks after original. People keep telling me to contest the will. She clearly wasn't in her right mind, they say. The cancer affected her judgment. You have a case. But here's the thing, she wasn't impaired when she changed the will. It was 6 months before she died, when she was still lucid, still herself. The lawyer who drew it up says she was calm and deliberate. She knew exactly what she was doing. She made this choice with clear eyes and a clear mind. That almost makes it worse. I've been staying with a friend because I can't stand being in that house anymore. Every room is full of memories that feel tainted now. The kitchen where she taught me to cook, was she thinking about her other daughter? The living room where we watched movies together on Sunday nights, was she wishing someone else was sitting beside her? The garden she loved so much, where she spent hours every spring planting flowers she'd never see bloom, who was she planting them for? She spent 40 years hiding this sister from me. Every family photo, every conversation about my childhood, all of it was built on a lie. Or not a lie, exactly, but an omission so vast it warped everything around it. I've started having dreams about my childhood, except in the dreams, there's someone else there. Another girl, slightly older, always just out of frame. I keep turning to look at her, but I never quite see her face. I wake up reaching for someone who was never there. My therapist says this is a normal grief response complicated by betrayal trauma. I say it's my brain trying to retroactively insert a sister into memories where she never existed. Either way, I'm exhausted. I've been trying to decide whether to find her, my sister. Part of me wants to know her. Part of me wants to scream at her, which isn't fair because none of this is her fault. Part of me wants to pretend she doesn't exist, the way our mother pretended for 40 years. But I can't do that. My mother's last words were about her. Her dying wish was for me to find her. And despite everything, despite the betrayal, despite the pain, despite the rage I feel every time I think about that will, I can't ignore a dying wish. I loved my mother too much for that. So I started digging. The adoption records were sealed, but my mother kept everything. She had the name of the agency. She had dates, documents, correspondence. And in one of those unsent letters, she mentioned something that made me realize she'd been keeping tabs on my sister all along, a reference to a specific college graduation, a specific career path, specific details she couldn't have known unless she'd been watching from a distance. My mother knew exactly where her first daughter was. She just never reached out. Never introduced us. Never gave either of us the chance to know the other. She kept us apart for 40 years, and then she died and made us deal with each other. I found my sister's contact information 3 days ago. I've been staring at her phone number ever since, trying to figure out what to say. Update 3. The meeting, posted 1 month after original. I called her. My sister. It took me a week of false starts, but I finally did it. Her voice on the phone was cautious, guarded. The lawyer had already contacted her about the inheritance, so she knew who I was, or at least, she knew I existed. She hadn't known about me before that call, just like I hadn't known about her. We're both only children who suddenly aren't. We met at a coffee shop in her city. I drove 4 hours to get there because I needed to see her face, needed to make this real. I spent the whole drive rehearsing what I would say, but when I actually saw her, when I walked in and spotted this woman who looked so much like our mother, it made my heart stop. Everything I'd planned evaporated. She's 40 years old. She has our mother's eyes, our mother's cheekbones, even some of our mother's mannerisms. When she tucked her hair behind her ear, I almost started crying because it was the same gesture, the exact same unconscious movement, as the woman I'd just buried. Genetics are strange. We share half our DNA, but we're strangers. We share a mother, but we have completely different mothers. The woman she imagines when she hears that word is some abstract concept of an abandoner, a ghost who gave her away. The woman I imagine is concrete and specific and beloved and, I'm learning, deeply flawed in ways I never understood. She told me about her life. She was adopted by a wealthy family, not extraordinarily wealthy, but comfortable. Private schools, vacations abroad, a college fund that actually paid for college. She's a successful corporate attorney now. She has a husband and 2 kids. Her adoptive parents are both still alive, still loving, still very much her parents in every way that matters. She doesn't need the money. She said that explicitly. I don't need it. I have plenty. This isn't about the money for me. But then what is it about? I was abandoned, she said. I know it's more complicated than that, but that's how it felt my whole life. Even with parents who loved me, even with everything I had, there was always this wound. This question, why wasn't I enough? Why did she give me away and never look back? She looked at me with our mother's eyes, and I saw the same pain I've been feeling reflected back at me. I thought she never looked back, my sister continued. I thought she forgot me, moved on, had you and never thought about the daughter she left behind. Finding out she kept all those letters, that she followed my life from a distance. I don't know how to feel about that. She watched, but she never reached out. She thought about me, but she never let me know. Is that better or worse than forgetting me completely? I didn't have an answer. I still don't. We talked for 3 hours. By the end, we were both crying. Not sobbing, just quiet tears, the kind that come when you're too exhausted to fight them anymore. We hugged before we left. It was awkward and tentative, but it was something. She asked if we could meet again. I said yes. But the inheritance still sits between us like a wall. She has everything. I have nothing. Neither of us knows what to do about it. Update 4. The confrontation, posted 6 weeks after original. I need to write this down because I'm still processing what happened. My sister and I have been talking regularly since that first meeting. Texts, phone calls, one video chat where I met her kids and they waved shyly at the aunt they never knew they had. We've been building something, carefully, tentatively, like 2 people constructing a bridge across a chasm. But the inheritance has been the elephant in every room. Last week, she came to visit me. She wanted to see the house, our mother's house, the house that now legally belongs to her. I showed her around. I told her about the garden, about the kitchen, about all the memories embedded in these walls. I watched her touch surfaces our mother had touched, look out windows our mother had looked out of. And then she asked the question I'd been dreading. Are you angry with me? I should have said no. I should have been diplomatic, measured, mature. But something in me broke open, and the truth came pouring out. I'm not angry with you, I said. I'm angry with her. I'm angry that I quit my job to take care of her. That I held her hand through chemo. That I cleaned up after her when she couldn't make it to the bathroom. That I sacrificed my career, my relationships, my life, and she left everything to you. To a stranger. To someone she'd never even met. My voice cracked, but I kept going. My mother's last words weren't, I love you. They were about the daughter she loved more, the one she never raised, never knew, never saw again. Her dying wish wasn't about me. It was about you. And I know that's not your fault. I know you didn't ask for any of this. But I can't help feeling like I spent 38 years thinking I was her world, and then I found out I was never even close. My sister was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was strained. I was abandoned. I know you feel abandoned too, but you had her. You had 38 years of birthday parties and holidays and graduations and ordinary Tuesdays. You had her presence, even if her heart was somewhere else. I had nothing but a question mark where my mother should have been. And I'm supposed to accept that your loss is greater than mine? I asked. I'm not saying that. Because she didn't choose to give you away. She was 17 years old, probably scared, probably pressured. But she chose to cut me out at the end. She chose to rewrite her will and leave me nothing. She had decades to tell me about you and decided over and over again to keep the secret. That was a choice. An active, ongoing choice that she made every single day. My sister sat down heavily on our mother's couch. She did the same thing to me, she said quietly. She knew where I was. She followed my life. She could have reached out at any point, and she didn't. She chose silence. She chose distance. She kept us both in the dark. We sat in silence, processing the weight of that truth. We both lost the same thing, my sister finally said. A mother who actually knew how to love us openly. She was right. And somehow, that shared loss felt more connecting than anything else between us. The money isn't the point, I said, and I was surprised to find that I meant it. The point is that my mother looked at her whole life and decided I wasn't enough. That the daughter she gave away mattered more than the one who stayed. The will wasn't about providing for you. It was about absolving her guilt. She used her death to apologize to you, and the cost of that apology was everything I had. My sister started crying. So did I. I know, she said. I figured that out too. The inheritance isn't really for me. It's for her. It's her trying to buy forgiveness from beyond the grave. We sat together for a long time after that, two women wounded by the same ghost. Final update, the resolution, posted 3 months after original. It's been 3 months since I first found those documents in my mother's closet. 3 months since my entire understanding of my family shattered and reformed into something I'm still learning to recognize. My sister and I have been talking almost every day. We've visited each other multiple times. I've gotten to know her children, who now call me Auntie with cheerful enthusiasm. I've met her husband, a kind man who looks at her the way I've always wanted someone to look at me. I've started to see her not as the stranger who stole my inheritance, but as what she actually is, my sister. The only one I've got. The only one who understands what our mother did to both of us. Last month, she came to me with a proposal. I want to split everything, she said. 50-50. The house, the savings, all of it. I don't need the money. You sacrificed everything to take care of her. You deserve half. I was quiet for a long time. It was a generous offer. A fair offer. Financially, it would change my life. I could rebuild my career, buy a small place of my own, have a cushion while I figured out my next steps. It was everything I'd been wishing for in my darkest moments. But as I sat there, I realized something that surprised me. It doesn't fix it, I said. The money. It doesn't fix what she did. My sister nodded slowly. I know. She made a choice. In her final months, with full clarity of mind, she looked at everything she had, including me, and she decided to give it all to you. Not because you needed it. Not because it was fair. But because she wanted absolution for what she did 40 years ago, and she was willing to sacrifice me to get it. I took a breath. My sister says she was abandoned. I was abandoned too. I just didn't know it until my mother was already gone. My sister reached out and took my hand. It was strange, being comforted by someone I was still learning to know. I'll take the split, I said. It's fair. It's more than fair. But I need you to understand that accepting it doesn't mean I'm okay. It doesn't mean I've forgiven her. It doesn't mean I've healed. I understand, she said. I'm not okay either. The legal process took a few weeks. The lawyers handled most of it. My sister could have contested my share. The will was clear, after all, but she didn't. She split everything down the middle, exactly as she promised. $400,000. Half the house value. Half of everything our mother left behind. I've started looking for an apartment. I can't live in that house anymore. Too many memories, too many ghosts. But I've kept a few things. The photo albums, some of the furniture, my mother's wedding ring. Things that connect me to the woman she was before she became the woman who betrayed me. My sister is keeping the rest. She's planning to sell the house eventually, but she says she wants to spend some time there first. Wants to understand who our mother was by walking the rooms she walked, touching the things she touched. I think she's trying to find answers I've already stopped looking for. Reflection. People have asked me if I'm happy with how things turned out. I don't know how to answer that. I'm relieved. The financial burden has lifted. I can start rebuilding my life without the panic of destitution. That matters. That's real. I'm grateful. I have a sister now, someone who shares my history even though we're still learning each other's present. Our relationship is fragile but growing, complicated but genuine. I didn't expect to gain a sibling from all this. I didn't expect to gain anything. But I'm not happy. I don't think I can be. Not completely. Not ever. Because my mother's final act was choosing someone else. Her dying wish was for a daughter who wasn't there, not the one holding her hand. Her will, literally the last word she would ever have on the shape of her legacy, gave everything to a woman she'd never known and almost nothing to the woman who gave up everything to care for her. I can rationalize it. I can understand the guilt she must have carried, the weight of that secret, the desperate need to make amends before the end. I can even feel compassion for the 17-year-old girl she once was, scared and alone and forced to make an impossible choice. But I can't unknow what I know now. I can't unfeel what I felt. I spent 2 years at her bedside. I spent my entire life believing I was her world. And in the end, I was just the daughter who was convenient. The one who was there by default, not choice. The one who came second in her own mother's heart. My sister and I talk about this sometimes. Late at night, after her kids are in bed, when we're both too tired to be diplomatic. We talk about what our mother did, how she hurt us both, how her inability to face her own past created wounds that were now left to heal. She loved you, my sister says sometimes. She must have. You don't take care of someone for 38 years without love. She loved you more, I always reply. Or differently. Or in a way that felt more urgent. I don't know. I'll never know. She took the answers with her. That's the worst part, maybe. That I'll never be able to ask her why. Why the secrecy? Why the lies? Why leave me with nothing after everything I gave? She made her choices and then she died, and the rest of us are left holding the broken pieces. But we're holding them together. That counts for something. My sister has invited me to spend Christmas with her family this year. I said yes. It's a first step, the beginning of a relationship neither of us asked for, but both of us are choosing. She's told me she feels guilty sometimes. Guilty for getting the inheritance, guilty for the life she had when I was the one who stayed, guilty for being the daughter our mother thought about while I was the one right in front of her. I tell her to stop. None of this is her fault. The only person responsible is the woman who created this mess and left us to clean it up. Our mother was a coward. That's the conclusion I've come to, after months of processing. She was too afraid to face her past, too afraid to tell the truth, too afraid to make hard choices while she was alive. So she made them in death, when she wouldn't have to witness the consequences. She gave my sister absolution and gave me abandonment, and then she slipped away before either of us could ask her to explain. I loved her. I still love her. That's the cruelest part. You can love someone and be furious with them at the same time. You can grieve someone and resent them in the same breath. You can hold someone's hand through their dying days and still feel betrayed by their final wishes. I'm learning to hold all of those contradictions inside me. I'm learning that healing isn't linear, that forgiveness isn't required, that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. And I'm learning that the sister I never knew I had might be the only person in the world who truly understands what our mother took from both of us, and what we might be able to build from the wreckage. The money helped. The relationship helps more. But the wound remains. And some days, late at night, when I'm alone with my thoughts, I still hear my mother's voice in her final hours, calling for a daughter who wasn't there. That's the inheritance I'll carry forever. TLDR, my dying mother revealed I have a secret sister who was given up for adoption 40 years ago. She left everything, $800,000, to this sister I never knew existed, and almost nothing to me, the daughter who quit her job to take care of her through cancer. Found my sister, who didn't know about me either. We've both been hurt by our mother's choices. Sister offered to split the inheritance 50-50ths, which she didn't have to do. Financially, I'm okay now. Emotionally, I don't know if I'll ever be. We're building a relationship, but I'll always know I came second in my own mother's heart. The only villain in this story is already dead and can't answer for what she did. Here's what I learned when my mother died. You can spend 38 years thinking you're someone's world and find out you were never even close. I quit my job to take care of her. I held her hand through chemo. I cleaned up after her when she couldn't make it to the bathroom. I sacrificed my career, my relationships, my life. And she left everything to a daughter she gave away 40 years ago. Her last words weren't, "I love you." They were about the daughter she loved more, the one she never raised, never knew, never saw again. Find your sister. Tell her I'm sorry. She deserves the house. I didn't have a sister. I'd been an only child for 38 years. But in a locked box in her closet, I found the truth. Letters she wrote but never sent. Photos. Documents. A daughter born when she was 17, given up for adoption, never spoken of. She thought about her every day. I was right there in the house with her, and she was thinking about someone else. The will left everything to my sister. $800,000. I got jewelry and photo albums. She spent 40 years hiding this sister from me. Every family photo, every conversation about my childhood, all of it was built on a lie. My sister says she was abandoned. I was abandoned too. I just didn't know it until my mother was already gone. We met. Two strangers who share half our DNA. Two only children who suddenly aren't. She had our mother's eyes, our mother's gestures. Looking at her felt like seeing a ghost. She didn't need the money. Good career, wealthy family, comfortable life. But she needed something from the mother who gave her away. We both did. The money isn't the point. The point is that my mother looked at her whole life and decided I wasn't enough. That the daughter she gave away mattered more than the one who stayed. The inheritance wasn't for my sister. It was for our mother. Her trying to buy forgiveness from beyond the grave. And the cost of that apology was everything I had. My sister split everything 50/50ths. She didn't have to. It was generous. It was fair. But it doesn't fix it. The money doesn't fix what she did. I'll spend Christmas with my sister this year. We're building something from the wreckage. She's the only person who understands what our mother took from both of us. But I'll always know I came second in my own mother's heart. Her dying wish was for the daughter who wasn't there, not the one holding her hand. That's the inheritance I'll carry forever.